there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Skyman Universe and your Star Wars quote for today. We lost. Something which I always admire about Star Wars prequel fans is prequel fans tend to be people who like all of Star Wars. They encompass everything, not just the dogmatic view. In my opinion, prequel fans would always sort of just shunned away, even by Lucasfilm. Even you could say that in the sequel films as well, where they were purposely trying to avoid as much prequelness as possible. Why? And look where that happened. But now we are finally getting Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is the sacred thing, the holy grail of Star Wars things, which we have been asking for. We've been silently waiting. We've taken it all throughout the years. We've always supported Hayden Christensen, and we've always loved him and Obi-Wan Kenobi and everything prequel related. Now I kind of feel like our time has finally come. I feel so sort of apprehensively nervous about this show because everything has to be sacred, everything has to be perfect. We waited so long for this. Just remember, this was meant to be a movie and now it's a TV show, and that decision was made so far back, so it's not as if this hasn't been well thought out. So I feel like with those sort of things in mind, I mean, if you work at Lucasfilm, then you know the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know how perfectly cast Ewan McGregor was. You know how important Obi-Wan Kenobi is. You know how he connects everything together, prequels and the originals perfectly together, entwined. So you expect, I'm sure they've completely done it already, but I'm sure they've done their research and looked into what the fans loved throughout the years, the importance of Obi-Wan Kenobi's story and what he should be doing and not tampering with it in any single way which would be detrimental to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because if they do, there's going to be some... Yeah, I'm joking around. I'm sure they 100% know what they're doing. And you just can't mess this up. You just really can't. There's so many juicy things that you could put into this time period in this show. So I thought for us prequel fans, these are kind of the ticks and the checklist of things that we would love to see in Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And just before we begin, I think this is a checklist which I think prequel fans will appreciate and would look forward to the most in whatever form it takes. I think just the inclusion of them, however it happens, it would just be the absolute best. And I feel like some of these things are 100% absolutely mandatory. And if you don't include it, then it's just one, a big missed opportunity, and two, it won't be Obi-Wan Kenobi without it. Okay, number one, Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn, I think, is probably the most important thing which I'm looking forward to in this series besides Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think Qui-Gon is the absolute key to this. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, the master-apprentice relationship that they had there in Phantom Menace, it always felt like what it was, literally cut short at the end of Phantom Menace. And there's always that resentment. If Obi-Wan is still feeling depressed and reminiscing about the events which happened in Revenge of the Sith, then surely his mind is going to take him to, well, where did it all begin? Where did it all start going wrong? That was with Qui-Gon Jinn. Even though in Clone Wars it suggested that Qui-Gon couldn't take physical form, I do believe they could sort of change that. And I think there would be good reason to have Force Ghost Qui-Gon Jinn on Tatooine with Kenobi, or what I did in my Obi-Wan Kenobi movie thing, which I wrote or whatever that was. Obi-Wan, I would love to see go to Dagobah, and then there he encounters Qui-Gon Jinn before he meets Yoda or something like that. I think a special moment with that for him to converse with Qui-Gon and Qui-Gon to pass down some wise words. Qui-Gon was always the hero for me in my book. He was someone to look up to. He was wise and powerful, and he had good morals, and I always loved him as a character in the prequels. So anything to do with Qui-Gon, I think, would be such a special, deep, emotional moment for Obi-Wan Kenobi. The connection they have, the special bond. I think Anakin and Obi-Wan had a brother connection. It was very much a father and son with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. There was a lot of mark of respect there for Qui-Gon Jinn. So I think putting them together somehow, I mean, if that episode takes place, then obviously I'm going to be tearing up like crazy. So that's probably one to watch out for. If that ever happens, you know that I'll be sitting here probably crying my eyes out, because that to me, Qui-Gon is like the introduction into the Star Wars for me. When I first saw it at the cinema, like I said, Phantom Menace, the first ever movie I saw, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi were the heroes for me. So the inclusion of him in the show, I feel like for the story purposes would be and for character growth for Obi-Wan Kenobi, it was absolutely mandatory. Number 2, this is probably what I think must happen. If you did not include this, I just don't see how you could not do something like this, because you will capitalize on so much fan excitement, it would be unreal. But that's to have Obi-Wan Kenobi flashbacks with Anakin Skywalker. So there's 2 ways of doing this. Anakin from Revenge of the Sith, I think you could pull off so perfectly. I don't think I'd want to see live action Anakin from the Clone Wars. I liked seeing him in the Clone Wars, but I think it would work better to see more of him sort of in Revenge of the Sith time, but doing something good with Obi-Wan Kenobi, or something they did to show more of a brotherhood, because that's always what people have talked about. You never really see the brotherhood in live action between them two. So Revenge of the Sith was very heavy, and it showed a lot of Anakin's torment, and you didn't really see the love and connection between Obi and Anakin as much as I feel like you should have, which would have had the higher payoffs nearer the end. But you could include that in the flashbacks, which is why Obi-Wan Kenobi is so tormented, because he can remember those good times and can't believe that it's Darth Vader. So there's that aspect. But then there's the other aspect where you can have Obi-Wan Kenobi having flashbacks with Obi fighting Anakin on Mustafar. I mean, if that happens, one, it refreshes us from that fight scene, so it sort of alludes to Darth Vader hopefully turning up later on. But 2, that would just be so incredibly awesome to see that style of lightsaber fighting, something we've never seen before on that scale of epicness, and it would just fit so perfectly in. It's the thing that Obi-Wan, I feel like, needs to see in a flashback to bring his character moving forward and to actually see what's tormenting him. I think that is the utmost important, and the flashbacks are the perfect way of doing it. I mean, you can go further back and do flashbacks of other things, but I think of Anakin and Obi-Wan together, whether it's them dueling or both, or them being friends or something like that, I think this is absolutely one of the most important things for both the characters, and it would pay off so perfectly nicely with both of them. Plus, you'd have ample opportunity to hear the duel on Mustafar, Anakin versus Obi-Wan, which would be so good. Battle of the Heroes, that would just be completely epic. And if I were Lucasfilm and I had my wits about me and thought, well, if I'm making something and it's going to include some sort of lightsaber fighting, then my number 1 priority before doing anything else, with the knowledge that I have of Star Wars and lightsaber combat and everything to do with the importance of different forms of the Jedi and things like that, then your number 1 choice is to get Nick Gillard in to choreograph it. I would be so incredibly surprised if they didn't take that route. He was the one who created those lightsaber duels. He knows them inside and out. So I wish, which I probably believe this probably isn't the case at all, but I wish and hope that Nick Gillard would be involved in there somehow if there's going to be any sort of dueling whatsoever. Number 3 is something which I think would be very, very emotional, and because we see Obi-Wan leave Tatooine and he goes on another planet, in that neon sign planet, why can't he go to other planets? Which makes me think that Obi-Wan could eventually venture off and see Yoda on Dagobah. I think if he did that, I think beyond or on par with the Luke Skywalker thing, the Mandalorian, I'm still not sure if anything could beat that for me. There was just that emotion I felt was something. As a Star Wars fan, it was just one of the most magical things. And yeah, it still gives me sort of chills thinking about it. But seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor, go visit Yoda on Dagobah. Obi-Wan knows where Yoda is, so there's no reason for him not to go there. And if he has his own trial, then we see Qui-Gon Jinn there or something like that. And maybe Obi-Wan goes in the cave himself. I mean, these are things which I wrote in my Obi-Wan Kenobi synopsis movie, which I did on the video way long ago. And these, I think, are important things which would have so much heavy weight to Obi-Wan. And just imagine seeing him going through the cave just like Luke and confronted his fears, which was Anakin, not so much Darth Vader, it's Anakin seeing his best friend. I mean, that would be so chilling and so emotional, and maybe we could learn something more about the Force, and that's where Qui-Gon could get involved there as well. I mean, that would just be 100% magical for prequel fans and something that we love. And original fans, as well. I'm just gonna say Star Wars fans because we're all fans. Plus, seeing Yoda in there would be a very special moment because I feel like he was not utilized in the sequels in a way which I thought was appropriate for him at all. And even though there was a sort of special essence when he was on screen, I feel like it would be more fitting with Obi-Wan, and something really magical can happen there. And I really hope Yoda turns up and Frank Oz is just making his voice, and oh, that'd be so good. This is just a little one, but I think it's more a thing that I want to see in this, what we would all want to see. And I think this would be a very magical moment if Obi-Wan, just like he's holding Anakin's lightsaber, he could be holding Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber as well. I'm not sure in the comics if he was already or expanded universe and then Luke uses Qui-Gon's green lightsaber crystal and then makes his own lightsaber. If that was the case, then that's just amazing, but I don't know if that's canon or anything now, but correct me if I'm wrong. But if we see Obi-Wan holding Qui-Gon's lightsaber and then you hear his theme, da, 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 that would just be incredible, and I'm hoping so much that it's included in this series. Number 5 is something which I think until yesterday was on this list and then was confirmed by a friend, Pablo Hidalgo, that Darth Maul was not going to be in this series or have anything to do with it. Now, I have reason to believe that is the case, even though like when you interviewed on Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield seeing if they're in Spider-Man, they kept saying religiously, no, 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 then they're in it. I'm hoping that's the case, but with Pablo Hidalgo, I feel like Lucasfilm would do enough to spoil the anticipation for it, and they would just say no, and that would be the case. So I'm hoping that it's more of a Spider-Man thing, and Darth Maul is about in this time period. He wouldn't be on Tatooine at the moment, but if Obi-Wan goes to somewhere else, and there's 6 or 8 episodes, an hour long, there's no reason why he can go somewhere else. I mean, this is all of Obi-Wan Kenobi's past, and the fact that Darth Maul is alive. Darth Maul will still be trying to find his way in the universe, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is taking a different path now, and how that would meet would be just crazy. There wouldn't even need to be a lightsaber duel or anything like that, but there could be something clever there where we see more something of Darth Maul interacting with Obi-Wan, and there could be some sort of something different there. I think Darth Maul has a lot more personality in a way he would talk, so that would be really interesting and cool to see. Plus, I swear that ages ago, Ray Park was in Lucasfilm and he was dressed up as Darth Maul, and this was after Han Solo. So if that has something to do with it, I'd be very interested to see, but I'd love to see Darth Maul in there so much, and have Duel of the Fates, because that would be the reason why they're playing Duel of the Fates on the trailer. I mean, there's no other reason why. I wouldn't say Duel of the Fates is, unless it's a flashback, isn't it? Oh my god. If there's a Darth Maul, Obi-Wan Kenobi flashback, and oh my god, yes. Number 6 is kind of like a guilty pleasure, but I feel like this would be so appropriate because Obi-Wan is on Tatooine, and this is always my wish, and I know in Boba Fett that they did it almost, and there is just the perfect nod off to pod racing, and he goes around the Boon's Eve track, but Obi-Wan could just walk through somewhere or be in the crowd or something. There could be a pod race going on or something like that, which would just be so incredibly amazing. I mean, how would that still happen under jurisdiction of the Empire? I mean, would that be allowed? I'm not sure, but if there was a pod race there, that would just be magical, and my prequel nostalgia would be just going off the roof and going crazy. But if you saw that, and if there's a reference to some old pod racers, that would just be brilliant. You're on Tatooine, utilize being on there. There's so many awesome things on there, so hopefully something like that, it's a little nod or something, would be awesome. I think this is I think this could work, and it would align perfectly because we've just had Book of Boba Fett, but I think that if Jabba the Hutt and a younger Boba Fett was included as well, I think that would fit in so nicely, because Obi-Wan he's keeping up the weight, but he's going to be amongst Tatooine, and there's no reason for Jabba the Hutt and Boba Fett to be sort of about. Boba Fett is working for Jabba the Hutt at this point, so Why not include that? I mean, that would just be, well, we think that he's working for him actually. He was just about to in A New Hope, but that would just be so cool just to have a slight, even if it's 2 seconds, but if he just sort of walks past, I'd love Daniel Logan to play him as well, younger Boba Fett. But if he just walks past or something and there's Jabba the Hutt there doing something, that would just be so awesome. And just a sort of reminder of you being on Tatooine, but also a reminder of the power dynamics on Tatooine, which are controlled by the Hutts with a little bit. I don't know how much of the Empire is involved at this point, but I think that would work really well. And why not? That would be a nice nod to Boba Fett, which just came out. I think this is a pretty cool one. I wouldn't expect anything much to happen from this, but it's more of a prequels nod for the Clone Wars and during that era. And if you're exploring Obi-Wan's past and sticking to the lore and everything that was set up previously, Obi-Wan has some sort of interest in Duchess Satine, and the inclusion in Darth Maul, if he was in there somehow, he could totally make Obi-Wan feel terrible. And a reminder of what happened to Duchess Satine would just be something which I think would have such a heavy weight on Obi-Wan Kenobi. He can go down that route, or if they were including her somehow, you can just show something of hers, play a theme or something, or flashback. They seem to be pulling a lot of people from Clone Wars and putting them into live action. Whether they're doing it well or not, I'm not sure. And in Rebels as well, that's for another video with the Grand Inquisitor. Just a small nod to Duchess Satine, because she clearly was an important part for Obi-Wan. I think if you're going to explore the things which happen for Obi-Wan, then why not include everything? Because I think Obi-Wan was able to keep all the things as a Jedi. In the past, he was able to keep on top of his emotions, but Anakin, just that was it. That was the last straw, and the whole having galaxy-wide implications of what happened, and they basically lost, and everything went tits up. I think including all those small little nods in there, like Duchess Satine, would work so well. I'm just going to say it, because why wouldn't he not have it? I mean, sure, he could travel in public transport or whatever, but I'd love to see Obi-Wan Kenobi's Actis Class Interceptor. I mean, how did he arrive on Tatooine? He must have a ship there somewhere tucked away. And if you had that and him still going off in an adventure in that interceptor, it could have been modified in a way so it's undetectable, but I think that would just been just such a nice little nod to see, like we got with the Naboo N1 starfighter for The Mandalorian. Why not have his starfighter, which he had in Revenge of the Sith? I know it was destroyed on General Grievous's ship, but then why not use General Grievous's ship or something like that? I mean, that would be kind of crazy and just such a great prequel nod there, but that's just like a little fanboy thing. This, like what we had in Rebels for Ahsoka, I think would be really important for Obi-Wan as well. And this would be the inclusion of some of the clones, any sort of the clones. I think Tamara Morrison would be a good age for doing this as well, with a wig and what have you. But if you included Rex on there, that would just be incredible. But if you went one further and did Cody, and Cody did a Rex and took out his inhibitor chip, and there was something there, I mean, imagine the scene you would have, because it was Cody that gave the signal to fire an Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that would just be, yeah, just hearing it and seeing Obi-Wan talk to Cody about it and seeing it from both of their perspectives and points of view, that would be so emotional. That would be such an awesome way to explore even further the lore. And it's just it creates such a cool dynamic. And if you include the clones somehow, see how Obi-Wan would feel about the clones, he would surely ignite his lightsaber still. But then, yeah, does he really know much about the inhibitor chips? I don't know, but that would be such an awesome thing to explore. And finally, the last thing of all, which I think is probably, well, I think they've stated it's already going to happen, but this is the most prequel thing which I want, which just connects it perfectly with the original trilogy. Now, something which I've always said with the original trilogy in the past, that the way the duel happens between Vader and Obi-Wan on Death Star, you can interpret the words in a little, I suppose a tiny amount, where Obi-Wan Kenobi says, you know, I'll become more powerful than you, and now I know, and Darth Vader says, now I'm the master. I mean, there still could be a master and apprentice dynamic, or brothers or some sort of dynamic between Obi-Wan and Anakin at this point, and I still feel like that there could be some reference to that where Obi-Wan says to Vader, should they meet again, that you are still my apprentice or something like that, you still fight like an apprentice and you never became a Jedi Master. Imagine something like that where there's a clever exchange of words which sort of makes it work perfectly for A New Hope, so it's respectful for that and keeps that all perfectly intact, but also that this duel would just be the most epic of duels in existence. But this is where I feel like Nick Gillard should have been brought in. If he's not already, you would be so stupid not to bring him in. It's the most obvious and simple thing to think of if you're a Star Wars fan and understand Star Wars lightsaber combat. Nick Gillard is basically the creator of that. And this is where I think if you're doing something prequel related, he is the absolute number one choice for this. Without a question, no one can come close to him, in my opinion. Bringing on Nick Gillard to make him choreograph something, create a new sort of style for Darth Vader, which would be so iconic, and it would be interesting to have Anakin's old technique intertwined with Darth Vader, so there's more strength involved and power and less sort of fancy movements and fluidness with it, but also just combining it and see it through lightsaber dueling with Obi-Wan Kenobi would just be the icing on the cake, the cherry on the top, and the thing which would just make me love this series in just an unconditional way. I mean, this could be just the most epic thing, and where this duel would take place, but the duel with Anakin as Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi would just be, and where it would lead on after that as well, would just be the thing, the most epic Star Wars thing probably ever. There was a part of me when I watched Revenge of the Sith, I always thought, for some reason, because I remember seeing him in the trailer and his helmet comes on, you hear his breathing and things, I always thought that Darth Vader would have a bit more of a prominent role as Darth Vader, a suited Darth Vader in the movie, so we might have seen Darth Vader actually dueling Obi-Wan. That's what I always thought was going to happen. And I was only 15 then, but I always remember thinking that Darth Vader, for some reason, was going to be dueling Obi-Wan Kenobi, dressed as Darth Vader. So the fact that we're actually getting Darth Vader, we hope, and it's going to be voiced by James Earl Jones, would just be incredible. I mean, this is inserting something so iconic from the originals and plonking it into a prequel era thing. These are the important things which connect both of these trilogies with momentous power. Like, you can't go wrong with this. And if you include this Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader fight, it would just be the most absolute perfect send-off and epic ending for an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And there we have it. I think those are the main things which I would love to see so much in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. These, I think, would be very important for just making the show completely epic. And I'm thinking, bear in mind that I'm thinking in more terms of when I'm watching it, I love reacting to Star Wars stuff. And since the Luke Skywalker thing, I didn't realize how emotionally attached that I felt for Star Wars. And it goes to show for so many fans how near and dear to all of our hearts it is still. Like, we carry it deep inside us, and this prequel era is something which for me is something which I carry deep inside with a passion, and this is my era of Star Wars, and I want it to be perfectly created and done and looked after and done in the right way, and I really hope that that's sort of taken into consideration, because I think if you do this wrong, then you end up alienating such a massive part of the fan base, which has done nothing but just given prequel love to the prequel fans and movies and everything, and then all of Star Wars. And it's just, I really, really hope with all of my heart that this is going to be just done right. But anyway, let me know all of your wants that you would love to see in this series. Just put them down below. I'd love to see what you want personally to crop up in here. Hope you enjoyed the things which I think are kind of mandatory and would be epic to show in this series. There's so much potential for this series, and there's also so much potential for things that we don't want to see. maybe that will be another video, but you let me know. I've been playing the trailer religiously. I just think it's going to be epic, and the fact that John Williams is involved in there somehow, it's just incredible. So let's hope this thing is done right. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. My name's Skyman, you invest. Subscribe if you're not, like if you enjoyed it. Take care of yourself, and remember, the Force will be with you always.